Have you ever felt that something inside you stopped speaking? Not because it had nothing left to say, but because no one ever listened. That's how most people die. Not suddenly, but silently. A slow death behind a smile. A soul that stops expressing, hoping someone might notice. But no one does. It begins early. When you learn to behave. When you're told to calm down, to be normal, to grow up. And the voice that once danced freely inside you is reduced to an echo in your chest. You convince yourself that surviving is more important than feeling, that pleasing others is safer than being real. You put on a mask and call it maturity. You chase accomplishments and call it purpose. But something always feels off. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how many people admire the version of you that isn't really you. Because deep down, you betrayed the one person you can't afford to abandon, yourself. The world doesn't want your truth. It wants your performance. It wants you productive, obedient, efficient, even if it costs your inner peace. It teaches you to smile through the pressure, to hustle past the pain, to numb the silence with noise, and so you become a perfect machine with a broken heart. But machines don't dream. Machines don't feel. Machines don't heal. And every time you ignore the voice within, the cracks get deeper. The silence gets heavier. You tell yourself you're just tired, that you'll rest next week, that you'll listen to yourself when things calm down. But the truth is, things never calm down, because the system you live in profits from your disconnection. The more you disconnect from your essence, the more you consume, conform, and obey. That's not a coincidence. That's the design. Somewhere along the line, you stopped asking questions, you stopped wondering who you really are, and started repeating what others said life should be. You followed the script: school, work, status, stuff. A series of checkboxes that promised meaning, but delivered routine. You feel the emptiness creeping in, but you keep moving. Faster, busier, louder, because to stop would mean to face yourself. And what if you don't like what you see? What if you realize that everything you built was a castle made of fear? You avoid the mirror, not because it lies, but because it tells the truth. And you fear that truth more than anything else. There comes a moment, sometimes in the middle of success, sometimes in the middle of collapse, when the silence inside becomes unbearable. Not because it hurts, but because it's honest. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And in that whisper you hear all the versions of you that you buried. The child who dreamed, the artist who feared judgment, the soul who longed to be seen without conditions. You realize that the pain was never the enemy. The enemy was pretending you didn't feel it. That's what breaks people, not pain itself, but the silence around it. And in that silence you either wake up or disappear. Some never wake up. They build louder lives to silence deeper truths. But others, a few, choose to stop running. They choose to sit with the ache, to listen, to face. And in doing so, they start to remember. Healing doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from remembering, with new eyes. To heal is not to erase the past. It's to hold it gently, to say, I see you. I see who I was when I couldn't protect myself. I see who I became to survive. And then softly to say, but I'm ready to choose again. You don't have to destroy who you were. You just have to reclaim who you are. Beneath the noise, beneath the masks, beneath the fear, your silence was not weakness, it was sacred space. A waiting room for your rebirth. What breaks you is what shows you where to rebuild. What hurt you is what reveals what matters. What silenced you is what teaches you to speak again. Not louder, but truer. And truth, spoken with love, becomes liberation. Maybe life didn't betray you. Maybe it was just trying to wake you up. Because there's still time, even when it feels too late. Real time is not on the clock. It's in your awareness. 1 second of clarity can change decades of repetition. And sometimes, all existence waits for is you to stop running from yourself. It's not the world that needs to understand you. It's you who needs to remember. to remember what you dreamed before fear, what you felt before the rush, what you longed for before you were shaped. That thing burning silently inside you. It's still alive, even if only in ashes, even if buried. But if you listen, if you really listen, you'll realize that voice never stopped. It was just waiting for the right moment to return. And maybe that moment is now. You are not alone. What you feel is not weakness. The silence is not the end. It's the beginning of what can still be remade. If this touched you and you feel the echo of that silence speaking, write in the comments, "I still feel time." Share this video with someone who needs to remember it's not too late to give meaning to the time that remains. And if you want to keep breaking cycles of pain and finding purpose, subscribe now. I see beyond the veil of the silence that speaks.